Hey guys, welcome back to Live What You Love. So I know season's right around the corner and I know a lot of people that want to give traditional archery a try. Today, I'm going to tell you how not to suck. Okay, we will not be doing crawl. We will not be doing split finger or Mediterranean. We're going 3 under. We will also not be doing this, close your left eye. Both eyes open. Also, we will not be doing this, anchored down at your mouth. We will also not be doing Olympic style because we're hunting. So none of this. The reason that some people shoot like that and they want the string to contact their chin, their lips, and their nose and keep that in line, and they're gonna have a very low anchor point, right? They're gonna be anchored down by their mouth, is because they're shooting 70 yards in the Olympics. You're shooting 20 to 30 yards, probably 30 yards max with the trad bow. So you can afford to have a much higher anchor point because you're not shooting near as far. The farther you shoot, the lower your anchor point. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do if you get a new bow is tune it. So I want you to use paper to tune it. It's gonna be a lot easier than a compound to tune because as long as you're not torquing your bow, the only thing that you can change is where you knock it on the string. So it's just a vertical change, up or down. So stick your arrow on there, shoot through. If you're not in the right place, you will know because it will make a huge tear like this, like these 4 and 5 inch tears. That's before I had my knocking points in the right place. Once you have your arrow in the correct place, it'll start shooting bullet holes like this. Once you have that area where you're like, all right, I'm locked in, I'm just shooting bullet holes, put a knocking point, a brass knocking point on top and bottom. Some people like tie-in knocking points. I like brass because they don't move, they last longer, and I kind of like being able to feel it with my top finger when I shoot 3 under, right? Okay, so we don't want to destroy someone's confidence, especially if they're a new shooter, by taking them right back to 20 yards and trying to shoot a trad bow. Trad bows are pretty hard, and it takes a lot of practice to shoot them accurately. So more realistically, start out at either 5 or 10 yards. And when we first start out, we're just trying to get to know the bow, right? So I'm at about 10 yards away from the target right now. I've got my arrow knocked right in between my 2 brass knocking points. So I'm ready to go. I'm gonna go 3 under, and I'm not gonna leave any space because like I said, we're not crawling. So I'm butted right up against the bottom of that arrow. That's how I like it. So it's consistent. I can find it quickly every time if I'm hunting. Now I just want you to get used to, again, stand 90 degrees. My feet are pointing towards you. The target is 90 degrees to my left. Now, 3 under, I want you to just pull back, have a big target, so pretty much blank bailing, and just get used to shooting your bow. Now, if you can see when I anchor, I want you to pay attention to it. Because the anchor is probably the most important thing. You need to make sure, and that's also why I like using a glove instead of a finger tab because it's more tangible and you can feel a lot more easily through one of these gloves. I think this is like lamb hide or something, but I can really feel my face in comparison to where I use a thick tab of leather. So same thing again, just gonna pull back. You see where I'm anchored? So every single time I'm anchored right here. And I know when I'm anchored in the correct place because the base of the arrow, or the knocking point of the arrow, I want that pretty much under my eye. So here, I'll do one facing kind of this way so you can see where it knocks. Okay, so just look at where it knocks. Right there. That's where I would shoot from. So it's almost directly under my eye. It's a little bit to the right. Okay? So that's what I want you to start out at. 5, 10 yards. Your knocking point is, or your anchor point is exceptionally important to be able to be repeatable and to be an accurate shooter. It matters a lot. So straight up under the string, going back, anchor point, boom. And you want, when you release, to kind of pretend like your fingers are stuck like this, and then it's kind of like firing a hinge with the compound. You just kind of pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back, and then rotate, and it'll eventually just pop off your fingers. That's why when I release, my hand goes back, right? I don't want to be holding and then open my hand. That's going to lead to a very, very inconsistent shot. So another reason that I like 3 under in lieu of split finger is because I like the sight picture. I don't like my finger blocking, I don't like my index finger blocking the top of the arrow. Like when I'm like that, I hate that. It just feels unnatural, and I like seeing down the entire shaft of the arrow, which I can accomplish by doing 3 under. Just do 3 under, stick that arrow right up underneath your eye so that you can look down it like a pool stick. I used to play pool a lot in college, and you get used to lining everything up. You got your stick, you're looking down it. It's just like that. From right here, we're standing at about 10 yards. From 0 to 10 yards, once you're comfortable blank bailing and you feel like you've got your form down, another thing is when you fire, you can feel like you're grabbing a ball off your back shoulder. So it's like fire, grab the ball. Fire, grab the ball. I don't really think about form too much. I know my form's probably not perfect either, but I can shoot pretty well. Now, what I want you to do, sorry, these gnats are crazy. Okay, so step 1, blank bailing. After you feel like you've got your form down, you've got that consistent anchor, you're feeling good on the release, now I want you to start what's called instinctually shooting. So from 0 to 10 yards, I want you to instinctually shoot. So I want you to take just that practice, and instead of pulling back and trying to look down the arrow and find your point on distance, which we'll cover a little later on, for right now, I want you to just pull back. I want you to look, like shoot a laser beam with your eyes through whatever you're trying to hit, and release. And it doesn't matter if you're off the first couple times, because muscle memory will eventually take over. And now for me, I can shoot much more accurately instinctually from 0 to probably 15 yards than I can aiming or using the arrow, the tip of the arrow as an aiming implement. So let me just show you a couple of them. We'll got a target on top there. It's been beat to hell, but I'm gonna aim just at the circle of it. I'm just gonna look at the center and shoot. So that was maybe inch low. It's right in there. And if you can see, I can draw back and shoot these very quickly because I'm just instinctually shooting. You see that right in there? That's what we want to do. And that's what I want you guys to get to the point of, to where you can do this. And not, this one's got a little bit of dirt in there. Hang on, let me clean this out. I don't want you to move on to the next step until you can instinctually shoot from 0 to 15 yards. You can even, they call it stump shooting, where you walk around your yard. Say you've got a leaf sticking in the grass that kind of sticks up and looks odd. You could shoot at that. Just that really helps with the instinctually shooting. I want you to hammer that in from 0 to 15 yards before we're ready for step 2. Well, I guess it's step 3. So it's blank bailing, instinctually shooting, and then we'll move on. It gets to the point where it's just muscle memory. Like, I don't have to aim. And I want you guys to get to the same place. So imagine you're hunting, right? You've got an arrow knocked up, and you're not drawn back yet or anything like that, but you hear pigs rustling, and you shh, and there's a little gap right here, and you know you're gonna have about 1 second to 2 seconds to draw that bow and shoot. That's what this is for. So if you're hunting pigs or hogs or like feral, whatever, maybe even deer, you could catch a deer going across, that's gonna be way more rare, but this works. So after we're feeling pretty confident from 0 yards to 15 yards and being able to just kind of almost snap shoot, but not really snap shoot, you're still drawing all the way back, just instinctually shoot. When I get to 20 yards, that's where I start to having to aim. And in archery terms, it's called your point on distance, right? So when I draw back, again, my fingers, I do not crawl. My fingers are tucked right up against there. I'm gonna draw back, I'm gonna hit my anchor, And it's very important that we hit the exact same anchor that we've been working with the entire time. Now, once I hit that anchor, I'm going to be using the tip of the arrow as a guide. So I'm going to put the tip of the arrow pretty much right on top of that top black target with the hole in the center. That's where we're going to be aiming. My point on is like 20, 22. So I pretty much get to put the point of my arrow, this little tip. When I pull back and I'm anchored, put the tip of my arrow right on where I want it to go, and it usually goes there. Let's try it out. It's probably 2 inches right. But now I'm having to start to aim, you know? And for me, aiming is harder than instinctual. So if you see that one, that's directly in the center. You just got to get used to that aiming point. Just really, really focus on your anchor. And then everything else just kind of follows suit. So if you can see the grouping down there, got a pretty good group going. This is how I practice. Anything farther than 20, I will do the same practice. I just know that instead of putting the point of the arrow or the field tip of the arrow on the target, I'll have to, so at 30, I have to aim, for example, about 8 inches high of target in order to hit my desired area. So if you can see those, let's just zoom in on that real quick. That's just put the point on, try to focus. Guys are stubborn just inherently, right? But some of them, and especially with trad, are super stubborn. And how you can tell that is they'll draw back, right? And whoosh. When I made that whoosh noise, I probably would have already shot. So by the time I'm back, I'm already locked in, I'm shooting. Now if people draw back, right? And they're like, oh, I don't like my sight picture perfectly, and then they start shaking like crazy. You see how much I'm shaking and how much the bow's moving, and then they end up doing a terrible release, and they shank it and end up injuring an animal, which is no number one. Don't be stubborn, guys. Get practice enough so that you can draw back and be very, very fluid with not just your drawback, but you hit your anchor immediately. You don't have to hit and then search for it and like find the perfect place for it. You're at the perfect place when you're back. And the point of your arrow is already on the target pretty much because you're used to using your eyes, right? That's why you keep both your eyes open. That's part of the reason that when I say 10 yards and in or 15 yards and in and you're instinctually shooting, keep both eyes open. How do you think depth perception works, right? So here's a little lesson. If you close one of your eyes, your depth perception sucks. You know why? Because depth perception takes, so you take the imagery from your right eye, imagery from your left eye, and you compare the difference in the angles or how they look, and that's how your brain tells you how far away things are. So both eyes open for instinctual shooting always. All right, come with me just for a sec. I want to show you one final mistake that is kind of like a killer, and it's really gonna impede your progress. You don't want, I know, shoot for the stars, hit the moon, everybody says that all the time, but you need to be realistic, right? So if I'm at 20 yards and I'm shooting a 2-foot group, that's not good. I need to move closer, right? So don't shoot beyond your grouping ability. So at 20 yards, and on camera just now, which is, I don't know if you guys know, but it's always hard to shoot on camera. So at 20 yards, I've got, these two are perfect. This one's right in there. And then I've got one that missed by 2 inches. So all of those are dead animals. So I am not shooting ahead of my groupings, right? So that's kind of like the last final cardinal mistake that I want to make sure you guys don't do. Don't shoot ahead of your groupings. So wait until at 10, at 15, you're just destroying it. And then as you move back, when you first start shooting 20, that is probably the first area where you're gonna start doing point on. So your groups might be crap for just a little bit. Okay, so I showed you guys the 20, pretty good, right? Point on distance, 20. I'm like hammering them in there. Now, I said 8 inches high for the 30-yard distance, so let's back up and see if I can back up my climb. We're back at 30. I'm gonna aim about 8 inches high on that top target. Zoom in on that for me, please. Okay, so you guys can see this process does work. This stuff does work. I'm not just preaching nonsense to get you guys to click. This is how if I were to teach my son or somebody or like a good friend how to start from ground zero, this is exactly how I would have them do it. One other thing that's awesome about traditional archery is that it's way, way cheaper, and it's kind of way more dependable than mechanical or modern or compound archery. There's no gears, there's nothing for cables to get hung up, there's no cams or mods to screw up, right? It's just simple, and it's quiet, and it takes a lot of practice to get good enough to hunt. So in my opinion, it's way more satisfying to get an animal with a traditional bow that you've worked your ass off to be able to shoot proficiently than to just, anybody can tell. I know that the absolute best in the world compound shooters can shoot a dime from 100 yards probably 2 out of 3 times or something crazy like that. But I'm talking about your average guy. Do you think your average guy can pick up a traditional bow, shoot it 10 times, and then go hunt with it that same week and kill something? Absolutely not. But you could have average Joe. He could go pick up compound bow, A, B, C, D, doesn't matter what it is. He could get somebody to sight it in for him, and he could shoot all the way probably to 40 yards more accurately than somebody who's practiced a lot with a traditional bow. So you can see how it's the meaning of the two, it carries a very different weight. I would love to see more of you guys get into trad. I really, really like it. This is how I started, and I'm kind of coming back around to it. I did get into compound pretty heavily there for a while, and I still do love compound, but you guys are gonna see a lot of trad hunts coming up this season, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And always remember, live what you love.